Before the fame, the trophies, and the spotlight on stage, there was just a regular kid named Jason Isaac Cutler. Born on August 3rd, 1973, in a small town called Sterling, Massachusetts, Jay was the youngest of 7 siblings, and that alone built his competitive spirit from an early age. His childhood was simple, full of hard work, and deeply connected to rural life. There were no supplements or fancy gyms, just the raw strength of life on the farm. At just 11 years old, Jay was already working alongside his brothers on the family farm and helping out with their concrete and construction business. While most kids were still learning how to ride a bike, he was hauling cement bags, digging trenches, and lifting concrete blocks. These physically demanding tasks started shaping his physique long before he even stepped foot in a gym. Without realizing it, the kid was already being prepared for something much bigger. Even with all the labor, Jay lived a pretty normal life for a small-town teen. He'd ride bikes around the neighborhood, play with friends, and enjoyed the freedom of being outdoors. He was quiet, observant, and already showed signs of determination in everything he did. No one could have guessed that this skinny boy would one day become one of the greatest bodybuilders in the world. So how did it all begin? It wasn't until he turned 18 that Jay entered a gym for the first time. At that point, becoming a bodybuilder or even an athlete wasn't on his radar. His goal was simple: get stronger, improve his physique, and take better care of his health. But the gym lit a fire inside him. The intense workouts, the weights, the mirrors, the daily progress, all of it started to become a part of who he was. And slowly, lifting stopped being just a hobby. Back then, Jay was studying criminal justice, seriously planning to become a corrections officer in a maximum security prison, a path completely different from the one that would lead him to the stage. Discipline came naturally to him, which made the criminal justice feel the good fit. But life had other plans. With each workout and each visible change in his physique, his focus started to shift. While his classmates were focused on exams and law enforcement careers, Jay was becoming more and more obsessed with what he could do with his body. Around that time, people at the gym began to notice him. They were amazed at his size and how fast he was progressing. That's when he started to wonder, what if I actually take this seriously? At just 20 years old, Jay Cutler took a bold step. He competed in his first bodybuilding contest. It was 1993, and he entered the NPC Iron Bodies Invitational. To everyone's surprise, including his own, he won right off the bat. He took first place in both the teen and heavyweight categories, proving that he wasn't there just to try it out, but to leave a mark from day one. That first win meant more than just a trophy. It was a wake-up call. Jay realized he had something special, raw talent backed by rare discipline. From that moment on, he was determined not to be just another guy on stage. He wanted to reach the biggest platforms, compete with the greatest names, and prove that he belonged among the sport's elite. His focus and ambition only grew stronger. Soon after, in that same year of 1993, he won the prestigious NPC Teen Nationals. In 1995, he dominated the U.S. Tournament of Champions. In just 2 years, Jay went from promising rookie to serious contender in the amateur scene. Fans started recognizing him, judges respected him, and fellow competitors knew they were dealing with someone who wasn't going anywhere anytime soon. What impressed everyone the most was how quickly his physique evolved. With every new appearance, Jay looked bigger, leaner, and more polished. His consistent results proved it wasn't luck, it was relentless hard work. And that started catching the attention of sponsors and professionals in the industry. The small-town kid was now a rising star. In 1996, at just 23 years old, Jay Cutler won one of the most important amateur titles, the NPC Nationals. That victory not only confirmed his dominance in the national scene, it also earned him the coveted IFBB Pro card. From then on, he could go head-to-head with the best bodybuilders in the world. And he knew the game had just changed. Imagine being at the top of the amateur world and suddenly getting the chance to face the biggest names in bodybuilding. That's what happened to Jay. Most people would feel pressure or even fear, but he was ready. With a focused mindset, an impressive physique, and fierce determination, he prepared for the toughest challenges of his life. Right after turning pro, Jay Cutler dove headfirst into the world of elite competitions. From 1996 to 2000, he faced off against some of the most respected names in the sport, stepping on stages like the Arnold Classic and Mr. Olympia. For a newcomer, competing at that level would be overwhelming. But Jay handled it all with sharp focus and a constant drive to improve his body. During this time, his results kept getting better. In 1998, he had a modest showing at the Night of Champions, but it was only a matter of time before he shocked the world. By 1999, he was already placing near the top in major shows. Jay was constantly fine-tuning his diet, training routine, and game plan for each competition. He knew that consistency and discipline were the keys to going far. The turning point came in the year 2000. Jay Cutler won the prestigious Night of Champions, one of the most respected contests on the pro circuit. That win skyrocketed his name and officially marked him as a serious contender for future Mr. Olympia titles. That same year, he placed 8th at the Olympia, a big leap considering the level of competition and the giants he was up against. But Jay wasn't satisfied with just making the top 10. He wanted the throne. His competitive mindset made him train like he was always chasing, even when he was leading. Every weakness was studied, every flaw turned into a strength. There was no room for excuses. That mindset pushed him to chase even bigger results and establish himself at the top of bodybuilding's elite. In 2001, Jay Cutler shocked the world by placing second at Mr. Olympia, finishing just behind the legend Ronnie Coleman. For many, that should have been Jay's year. His physique was drier, more symmetrical, and more complete than ever. Fans and critics were split, and suddenly Cutler's name wasn't just a rising star. It was the name on everyone's lips as a real threat to the title of world's best. That result caused a huge buzz in the industry. He was no longer just a promising competitor. He was the guy who could take down the king. Jay started popping up in magazines, videos, interviews, and scored even more sponsorship deals. His face was everywhere. It was the beginning of a legendary rivalry with Ronnie Coleman, one that would define an entire era. From 2001 to 2005, the Mr. Olympia stage witnessed one of the greatest rivalries in bodybuilding history. Jay Cutler versus Ronnie Coleman. For 4 straight years, Jay placed second, always watching Coleman hoist the sport's most coveted trophy. For most athletes, that kind of streak would have been crushing. But not for Jay. Each loss became fuel to train harder. Their rivalry wasn't just about muscle. It was a chess match of strategy, physical evolution, and mindset. Coleman was known for his freakish size and unreal density, while Jay focused on symmetry, sharp conditioning, and stage presence. They were completely different styles, but both undeniably incredible. And that contrast only made the rivalry more intense and polarizing. Jay Cutler reinvented himself year after year. He analyzed every detail from each competition, refined his conditioning, and came back stronger every time. Despite losing over and over again, he never seemed discouraged. On the contrary, his resilience earned him more and more respect from fans and judges alike. Jay was always right there, waiting for the moment the throne would slip. It's wild to think how this rivalry didn't just shape Jay. It defined an entire era of 2000s bodybuilding. Being constantly compared to Ronnie forced Jay to raise his game to the absolute limit. There was no room for error. One misstep, one flat pose, one muscle slightly off, and the title was gone. That kind of pressure forged an unshakable mental warrior. Fans lived for the showdown. Every year at Mr. Olympia, there was that question hanging in the air. Is this finally Jay's year? The tension was real. With every second-place finish, people saw a more seasoned, more determined Cutler. Even without the trophy, he was winning behind the scenes, building a loyal fan base and cementing his image as a relentless fighter. Jay became the symbol of persistence. Few athletes in history have come so close so many times without giving up. He proved that second place can still be legendary when it's about character, growth, and dedication. His rivalry with Coleman pushed him to chase perfection, and even without the crown, he was already a king in the hearts of many. After years of battling and 4 consecutive runner-up finishes, 2006 finally brought the breakthrough. Jay Cutler stepped onto the Mr. Olympia stage with a clear mission: dethrone Ronnie Coleman. And he did it. On the night of September 30th, Jay fulfilled the dream he'd chased for so long. He beat the greatest bodybuilder of his generation and claimed his first Mr. Olympia title. It was a historic moment that touched fans around the world. That victory wasn't just about a trophy. It marked the end of one era and the beginning of another. Jay proved that patience, persistence, and hard work pay off. The 2006 title was the crowning moment of a journey built on resilience. And he didn't stop there. In 2007, he successfully defended the title, proving his dominance over the competition. Now, he was the man to beat. But in 2008, the unexpected happened. Dexter Jackson showed up in the best shape of his life and took the title from Jay. It was a shock to many and a hard pill to swallow for Jay. He was no longer at the top. Still, as with every challenge in his career, he used the loss as fuel. There was no time for sulking. His focus shifted to reclaiming what he had lost. And that's when one of the greatest comebacks in the sport was born. In 2009, Jay came back with everything he had. His physique was flawless, dry, dense, symmetrical, and powerful. But what became iconic wasn't just a trophy. It was a single pose. During his routine, Jay stomped the floor and flexed his quads so explosively that time seemed to freeze on stage. That moment gave birth to the legendary quad stomp. The pose became a symbol of redemption, resilience, and strength. The crowd went wild, and to this day, fans and critics alike consider that moment one of the most unforgettable in Mr. Olympia history. It wasn't just a muscle being flexed, it was a declaration of victory, a personal signature. Jay Cutler was back on top, and his name was forever etched in the history of the sport. In 2010, he defended the title once again, defeating a young Phil Heath and proving he was still the king. With that, he racked up 4 Mr. Olympia titles and solidified a career filled with triumphs and comebacks. Very few athletes have ever reclaimed the crown after losing it. Jay was the first in history to do so, reinforcing his image as an unbreakable champion. Even after winning his 4th Mr. Olympia in 2010, Jay Cutler wasn't ready to step away from the stage. Despite already having a legendary resume, he kept competing, driven by his love for the sport and his desire to show he still had more to give. In 2011, he once again stepped on a bodybuilding's biggest stage to face the talented Phil Heath, who was in peak condition. That year, Jay placed second, losing the title to Phil. It was a tight battle full of anticipation. Many already saw Heath as the future of the sport, and the face-off was viewed as a symbolic passing of the torch. Even so, Jay held his head high, earning respect and applause from everyone, even without the trophy. His humility and professionalism kept him an undisputed fan favorite. In 2012, Jay was forced to take a break from competing. A serious biceps injury kept him off stage that year. It was a tough moment. For an athlete who had always stayed competitive, being sidelined by the very body he had spent decades building must have been tough. But he didn't complain. He stayed focused on recovery with the same discipline he always brought to training. Many thought that would be the end of his career. But Jay isn't the kind of guy who fades out quietly. In 2013, even though he wasn't in peak condition, he returned to the Mr. Olympia stage. It was a gesture of respect for the fans and for the sport. He wanted to end his competitive journey on the very stage that made him a legend. And even though he placed 6th, the crowd gave him a standing ovation. That return meant more than a ranking. It was a tribute to his journey, a fitting farewell from someone who gave everything to bodybuilding. Jay showed the world that being a legend isn't just about titles. It's about courage, consistency, and passion. He didn't need to prove anything anymore. His story was already cemented in the legacy of the sport. When he stepped off the stage in 2013, Jay made it clear that even though he was retiring from competition, his connection to bodybuilding was far from over. He wasn't just an athlete anymore. He had become a mentor, a role model, and a respected voice for the next generation. His transition was smooth, dignified, and inspiring. Few athletes retire with that much respect intact. Retiring from the stage didn't mean disappearing from the spotlight. Quite the opposite. After hanging up his competition trunks, Jay Cutler poured his energy into the business world and became one of the most respected entrepreneurs in the fitness industry. With strategic vision and credibility built over decades, he launched Cutler Nutrition, a supplement line that quickly gained recognition among athletes and gym-goers alike. But more than just selling products, Jay started selling inspiration. He became a social media presence, a global speaker, and a role model for anyone chasing a better body and a better life through discipline. Always approachable and charismatic, Jay remains a familiar face at expos, competitions, and conventions, sharing his wisdom with both beginners and veterans of the fitness world. What's truly impressive is that even well into his 50s, Jay still maintains an incredible physique. At 51, he can still rival many active pros, proving that healthy lifestyle is about much more than just competing. He didn't stop because he won it all. He keeps going because he genuinely loves it. The kind of consistency is what separates the greats from the legends. In 2021, his impact was officially recognized when he was inducted into the International Sports Hall of Fame. A well-deserved honor for someone who not only raised the bar in the sport, but also embodied values like dedication, humility, and perseverance. This recognition wasn't just about his titles. It was about the life example Jay Cutler continues to offer the world. Jay Cutler's legacy isn't just built on muscle and trophies. It's built on mindset, on proving that falling is part of the game, but getting back up stronger is what defines you. It's about never getting too comfortable, never letting ego take the wheel, and always striving to evolve. He inspired generations not just through his physique, but through his attitude, his words, and the path he chose. He might have started as just another competitor among many, but today, Jay is a symbol of what bodybuilding can truly represent: transformation, purpose, and resilience. His journey resonates far beyond the gym. He inspires not only athletes, but anyone chasing the best version of themselves. He shows that real success isn't just about winning. It's about the journey and how you uplift others along the way. And you, what do you take away from Jay Cutler's story? Maybe it's the persistence after every setback. Maybe it's the humility even at the top. Or maybe it's the reminder that true passion never really retires. When we think of Jay Cutler, it's impossible not to picture that dense, powerful, perfectly sculpted physique. Standing at 5 feet 10 inches, 1.77 meters, and weighing up to 310 pounds, 141 kilograms. In the off-season, he stood out even among the giants of the sport. On stage, he trimmed down to around 273 pounds, 124 kilograms, maintaining razor-sharp definition, insane vascularity, and textbook symmetry. Jay was living proof that size and aesthetics could go hand in hand. His body measurements sounded like they were straight out of a superhero blueprint. 22-inch arms, 56 centimeters, a 59-inch chest, 150 centimeters, 30-inch thighs, 76 centimeters, and 20-inch calves, 51 centimeters. Even in the world of professional bodybuilding, those stats were jaw-dropping. But it wasn't just the numbers, it was the balance. Jay knew exactly how to showcase his physique, highlighting every strength and refining every weakness year after year. And those stats didn't happen by chance. They were built through decades of dedication, grueling training, strict dieting, and a mindset that bordered on military precision. Jay treated his body like a living sculpture, and every workout was another step toward perfection. He didn't just want to be big. He wanted to be proportional, commanding, unforgettable. And he nailed it. Over his career, Jay Cutler competed in more than 30 top-tier professional shows. Among those, the highlights were his 4 Mr. Olympia wins and 3 consecutive Arnold Classic titles, a rare feat in the sport. These accomplishments solidified his reputation as one of the most consistent and dominant athletes in modern bodybuilding history. His stage performance was meticulous. From the moment he walked out to every pose transition, Everything was executed with precision. Jay studied how to best showcase his strengths and minimize any flaws. The iconic quad stomp became a historic moment in the sport, and that only happens when you know every inch of your own body. Even after retirement, his physique remains impressive. At 50, Jay still sports a silhouette that defies time and inspires younger athletes. Sure, his measurements have changed slightly, but the visual impact is just as strong. He continues to be a role model for those who seek longevity and quality in the sport. Have you ever stopped to think about how much the human body can be transformed through discipline and consistency? Jay Cutler is living proof that limits are made to be broken, and that every inch of progress represents real effort. Jay Cutler isn't just another name among bodybuilding legends. He's the only athlete in history to regain the Mr. Olympia title after losing it. That had never been done before. Most champions begin a downward spiral after losing the crown. But Jay did the unthinkable. He came back stronger, sharper, and with even more visual impact. It's a feat that placed him in a league of his own. That comeback in 2009 wasn't just a win. It was a masterclass in resilience. Jay proved that it doesn't matter how many times you fall, it's about how many times you're willing to reinvent yourself. His physique that year is still considered one of the best ever, but it was his mindset that truly resonated. He inspired an entire generation to never give up on their goals. More than just muscle, Jay built a rock-solid reputation grounded in discipline, resilience, and intelligence. He always knew how to take criticism, tweak his strategy, and evolve. While others plateaued, he adapted. Whether it was his diet, training, or stage presence, Jay Cutler was always looking for something new. And maybe that's the real secret behind his lasting success. His powerful presence on stage made him a legend, but what he's done offstage took his legacy even further. Jay became a role model, a mentor, and a symbol of excellence. Whether you're just starting out or a seasoned pro, his name always comes up as an example of consistency and professionalism. He wasn't just a champion, he helped define what it means to be one. Even today, years after stepping away from the stage, he's still celebrated at major events, showing up as a guest of honor at fitness expos, serving as a special judge, and starring in documentaries and interviews. His fan base keeps growing. Fueled by content, he shares himself, workouts, tips, and stories, all delivered with honesty and humility. His achievements are widely recognized by athletes, journalists, and bodybuilding historians alike. His induction into the International Sports Hall of Fame in 2021 was just a formal stamp on something everyone already knew. Jay Cutler is a living legend. And that recognition goes far beyond trophies. It's about the daily influence he has on millions around the world. Jay Cutler's story is unforgettable. From a small-town kid to a global bodybuilding icon, he faced every high and low an athlete can go through and overcame them with courage, strategy, and heart. But now I want to hear from you. In 2001, do you think Jay should have beaten Ronnie Coleman? Was he truly ahead that year, or was the result fair? Their rivalry split the bodybuilding world in half. And what about 2007? Was Victor Martinez actually better than Jay? That year stirred a lot of debate, and fans still go back and forth on whether the trophy went to the right hands. The truth is, the sport often involves subjective decisions, but we all have our take. So drop a comment below and let me know what you think about those defining moments in Jay's career. If you enjoy inspiring stories like this one, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell. It really helps us keep making quality content about the biggest legends in bodybuilding. Each new video is crafted with care to bring you real information, real inspiration, and that extra shot of motivation we all need now and then. And don't forget to hit the like button. That lets us know you want more videos like this. And it helps spread the story of amazing athletes like Jay Cutler to others who haven't heard it yet. Your support makes a huge difference in helping this community grow. Oh, and if you know someone who follows Mr. Olympia or loves that old-school bodybuilding vibe, send this video their way. I bet it'll spark some good conversations, or maybe even a little debate in the comments. Because Jay Cutler was one of the all-time greats, and talking about his career is always exciting. To wrap things up, there's another video on the channel you have to check out. The link is right there in the card on the screen.